a lovely sweet called Mahalabia. Now, the name Mahalabia comes from the word halib, which in Arabic means milk. So it is a milk pudding, but with a difference, because we use rose water or sometimes orange blossom water to perfume it, and we use cardamom. And this Mahalabia sweet is a very much loved sweet in the Middle East. And each country does it slightly differently, and each family does it slightly differently, but more or less it is the same dish. And we use usually full-fat milk. Some people even go a bit further and put half full-fat milk and half cream, making it really very rich and quite luxurious to taste. In my case, recently, the last few years, I've been doing it with almond milk, which makes it a little bit lighter, but it also makes it parev. And that means you can eat it at after any meal, you can have it any time. It's really wonderful. Anyway, I'd like to start, but I'd like to know who's making it with me and who's not. 1, 2, 2. Okay, so you'll end up with a very nice sweet at the end. All right, so you have the people that are doing it with me, do you have a little bowl where you have your corn flour in? I can't hear them, see. Okay.
Yeah, they can...
you can hear me, you can hear me. So you put, for 1 liter of milk, you put 6 tablespoons of corn flour. Yes? So you put 7 tablespoons of corn flour. And then you put a little bit of the milk in the corn flour. And you try to make a very smooth paste out of it without any lumps. So it doesn't take very long to do that, but you have to squash all the lumps. And sometimes I use a whisk. If you don't get all the lumps out, a whisk is fantastic for doing that. Okay, so there we are. So you'll get a consistency of cream. Then you take your pan and you put your milk in the pan. Then you take your sugar, 5 tablespoons of sugar for 1 liter, and you put that in. Then you take the vanilla extract and you put 2 teaspoons. And did you both buy cardamom? You have cardamom? Yeah? What I usually do is I put some pods in, cardamom pods, but sometimes I like to grind it. I don't know if you can see, into very, very fine powder. And you can do that very good, yeah. So if you have them in powder form, you can just take a pinch and put that in. Otherwise, you take about 2, 3, 4 cardamom pods and put that inside the milk. And lastly, you take, now this is what I use. It's called cortas, and I recommend it. It's the best rose water, because the rose water that you buy in supermarkets, wonderful, wonderful. The ones that you use that you can buy in supermarkets, they taste a little bit like perfume. and that's too strong and too artificial. So you put 3 tablespoons of rose water. If you don't have rose water and you don't particularly like cardamom or you can't get it, you can substitute with cinnamon. It will give it a totally different taste, but also very nice. So cinnamon inside the milk, and also afterwards when the sweet is done, you can also sprinkle on top with the rest of the things that you're going to put on top to decorate, to garnish. So I would say cinnamon and perhaps another teaspoon of vanilla. Okay. That will take care of that. So now we've got one bowl that has got the corn flour, and we've got all the other ingredients in the pot. I'm going to turn around and take the pot and put it on the hob to warm it a bit so that the sugar can melt. I don't want it boiling. And afterwards, I will put the corn flour inside the milk. So I usually like to use a whisk, but you can use a spoon as well, and on medium-high heat at first, just to warm it. This is only to melt the sugar. You can imagine that if you put cream and milk, full-fat milk, it will be really very rich, but really delicious. So now, once your milk is a little warmed up, you will put the corn flour inside. Start stirring, because you don't want it to be all lumpy at the bottom. This now will take, I would say, about 5 to 10 minutes until it thickens. And once it starts thickening, then you can take it off the hob.
Do you have to stir it the whole time that it's there, or you can let it sit?
No, you really have to stir it the whole time, because what happens with the corn flour, it will sit at the bottom, and then it's not good. Yeah. And as I said, a whisk is wonderful. It kind of airs it a bit as well. I mean, you can leave it for about 15 seconds, half a minute, but you can't really leave it, because you want to see it slowly becoming thick. And then you can put it on a high fire. Has anybody eaten this Mahalabia anywhere? No. Okay, so it will be a new taste. After this, I'm going to show you something that you can do with dates. It's very, very nice. And I just wanted to say that, of course, here, especially in the West, after a meal, you always sort of want something sweet. So there's always a sweet or a pudding. And a lot of the Middle Eastern sweets and desserts were not to be eaten after a meal. They were for visitors, for special occasions, for births, for marriages. And as I said, for visitors, they were mostly offerings to people. We didn't have any sweet or pudding after a meal. I don't know about you, but now I'm beginning to feel it's getting thicker. Mine is getting thicker. If yours is lumpy at the bottom, just get a whisk and just go like that, and then that will release it. not very, very thick. It'll get much thicker once it sets and cools down. Okay, so I'm turning mine off and I'll show you how it is. So it's thick like double cream. Okay, I've only got 2 bowls to show you, but this is the best way. You can, of course, put it in a very big bowl and everybody helps themselves. So I'm going to put this back here. What I usually do after this is either with pistachios or ground almonds. You do a sprinkling on top. And then with your cardamom, if you have got ground cardamom, you put a little bit on top as well. And then you can decorate it with some fruits. Here I've got some strawberries that I've cut up. I'll show you once I've finished this. And also I've got some blueberries, so this makes it look nice. Kids love this. There we are.
Wow, beautiful.
Can you see?
Beautiful.
Good.
Looks wonderful.
Yeah.
You leave it to cool down and then you put it in the fridge. And I would think after about an hour or 2, it's ready to eat. It's a very, very simple, it's a simple sweet to make and very quick. And as I said, kids love it. And I think you should all try it. So this is not particularly a recipe I'm going to show you, but something you can do if you wanted to have a sweet, and instead of having chocolate, let's say, you can do this, and probably, I'm not sure, but probably it's healthier. Okay, so you get some dates, and you open them up. And you take the stone inside, out, and I've done a few here. And you must be careful when you cut open a date, you must look. I've just found that this one has a few little, I don't know, little some kind of creatures. So you must look inside and see that it's really clean. Okay, so what we do is either put a nut inside it and eat it, like an almond nut or a walnut. But the most delicious thing is you have tahina and you fill the inside of each date with some tahina. So, and what happens, because sometimes dates are quite sweet, when you put tahina inside and you eat it, the tahina lessens the sweetness, but it mixes so beautifully with the sweetness of the dates. And that could be a little snack after your meal if you don't want to have a sweet. And it's something that we do quite regularly. So there we are.